Well, it's another week. We look forward to playing another game. I hope everybody that is interested realizes how good they are. I mean, they're a very talented, explosive football team that last year and the first game this year have shown that they can play the game really, really well. And it reminds me of a couple, and I don't know how many years ago it was, we played Eastern Illinois, and then Garoppolo was their quarterback, and they came in here and exposed us, and they were a much better football team than anybody expected, including our players. And they won the game, convincingly won the game too. It wasn't that close. So our boys better be ready to go and ready to play because it'll be a very competitive football game.
Now that you've had time to look at some film, and what kind of, maybe a short list of things did you learn about your team that you couldn't have known before you played a game?
Well, I don't think we played as well as we expected to play. I thought we would play better. And then on the positive side, I thought that the line of scrimmage, we played better at the line of scrimmage than I thought we would. I thought we'd be a little outmanned on the defensive line by their offensive line and a little outmanned on our offensive line by their defensive line, and that was not the case. We held our own, and sometimes we were the better line of scrimmage. But we made way too many mistakes on both sides of the ball. And then we had a little trouble covering one of their receivers.
Coming off a team like Stanford, top 25, and you mentioned already earlier about Sacramento State and having to be ready for them. How difficult is that to communicate to your guys that, you can't take a team like this lightly?
It's not difficult to communicate it to them at all. It's already been communicated many, many times. It will be for the next 3 days, too. It's whether they're listening and understanding that is the problem. And if you can tell me exactly the way to make that age group understand and react to it and be right 100% of the time, we can make a lot of money.
We bring up the loss in 2013. Did you use that as an example?
Yeah, we already have used that as an example. Now, whether that relates to them or not, none of them were here.
Were you more encouraged by what you guys did defensively against Bryce Love in particular, or more concerned of struggling to cover a big, talented receiver?
No, I think that's a 50-50 deal. I mean, I think it was positive that we played the run well, and then it was a negative that we didn't play pass defense better than we did.
Rocky, you had a pretty good kicker in New Mexico and John Sullivan, obviously. I just kind of wondered where John Barron now kind of sits in relation to what John did over there.
I have a hard time. That's so long ago. I have a hard time comparing them. But John Sullivan was, I think he ended up an All-American. And if John Barron has the same kind of year this year that he did last year, he should be an All-American too.
With that covering receivers and that pass defense you talked about a little bit, what are the biggest things you can get done between week 1 and week 2 in an area like that?
Well, there's a lot of things you could do, and a bunch of them that we're not going to do. I mean, you can completely change the structure of your defense and have an ability to make sure you cover receivers, and then they're going to rush for 500 yards. So we're going to play our defense the best way we can play our defense and hope that the defensive backs make more plays than they did last week.
Coach, you've been doing this a long time. Do you still get fired up for a home opener that you get to play in front of your fans opposed to starting on the road?
I don't have any trouble getting fired up for every game. I mean, I think that you always, not always, but most of the time you play better at home because your team is more comfortable. The routines are pretty much the same every time you play at home, as opposed to every road routine ends up being different. I think it's natural that an athlete performs better when he has friends and family watching him. I think that makes most athletes perform at a better rate, so it's always better to be at home. And it's nice that this is our first home game.
Coach, who do you see stepping up in the secondary to initiate that play change this week?
I don't see anyone in particular. I think the whole secondary, you know, we're saying this, the whole secondary needs to improve our pass defense. The whole secondary does. But one of the reasons, let's don't forget, one of the reasons we played such a good run defense was the run support that they gave. Okay? I mean, we ask our DBs to be total football players. If all we asked them to do was cover receivers, we would have covered the receivers, if that's all we asked them to do. But then we'd have watched a guy win the Heisman Trophy in the first week of the season. We have to be overall football players. And they played well in one spot, and they didn't play so well in the other spot. They just got to get better.
You said before the season, at one thing, I think it was actually Ernie Anderson's thing, where he said, I don't know a lot about this team, but I know they'll be tough. Did you learn anything about the mental makeup of your team? You're on the road, you're at a ranked team, you're playing a guy who's in the Heisman discussion. What, in that piece of it, did you?
I thought, and it's nice to know, I thought we were a very physical football team. If you remember some of the other things I said the youngest part of our defense was the secondary, and that's the quickest way to lose a game. Y'all forgot I said that? I said it about 25 times. And you never hope it happens, but that's young DBs have to play in live action to get better. They don't get better in practice. They have to see everybody moving around at a faster pace, and they have to react to the ball in a stressful situation. It's skill-wise, it's the toughest position to play on defense, skill-wise. You know, and then people talk about, well, you can double cover or you can play zone. Well, guess what? You can double cover, but there's other receivers out there too. And you can play zone, but every one of those passes that were completed were against zone coverage. Because guess what? After 10 yards, once they get past 10 yards, it's all one-on-one situations, whether you're playing zone or not. If you're playing a three-deep zone, all you have to do is occupy the free safety, and both corners are man-to-man. If you're playing a two-deep zone, all you got to do is run 4 verticals down the field, and all 4 DBs are in man-to-man past 10 yards. I love listening to all the experts and all the emails I get about how to fix it. I love that.
Do you read any of the emails?
I read them. Yeah, I read them. Just like reading your newspaper and reading the comics. Comics make me feel better, and those emails, you know, sometimes they're so ridiculous, they make me feel better too. I mean, I appreciate that they care that much. I do. I really do appreciate they care that much. But it puts a smile on my face sometimes because they're really good fans, but they don't understand football at all. And so as long as that comes across, I don't take it seriously.
You ever answer them?
No, I don't answer them.
Any one piece of advice stick out? That's good.
No, I've actually had some good advice on emails before, you know, and it's from people that really understand the game. And every once in a while, over the many years, they'll come up with an idea that I used that I didn't think about. It didn't happen this week, though, by the way.